I'm Marty Cohn, and welcome to episode 19 of PR Benefits, a show that explores the role of public relations in the COVID-19 era. I've been a PR practitioner for over 45 years, helping a wide array of organizations successfully communicate their messages to targeted audiences. I mistakenly thought that 9/11 would be the watershed event in my lifetime. Communicating in the aftermath of that tragic event was challenging. Then came the global economic downturn in 2008 with more lessons in crisis communications. However, 12 years later, we have the coronavirus pandemic, and new challenges in uncharted waters have emerged. My guest today is Nathan Hokama, Principal of Strategic Communication Solutions in Honolulu, Hawaii. Now, let me tell you something about Nathan. Nathan established Strategic Communication Solutions as an independent practitioner in April of 2004 and has over 25 years of corporate communications experience. Prior to Strategic Communication Solutions, he served as Corporate Communications Manager for Tesoro Hawaii, now PAR Hawaii, Hawaii's leading transportation fuel provider, media relations consultant and spokesperson, and assisted with Public Utilities Commission public hearings during the acquisition of Verizon Communications Hawaii assets by the Carlyle Group, a Washington, D.C. based international private equity firm, Corporate Communications Manager at American Savings Bank, the state's third largest financial institution, Community Relations Director for Shriners Hospital for Children. Wow. Nathan holds a bachelor's degree in journalism and philosophy from the University of Hawaii and is an accredited member of the Public Relations Society of America, a member of the organization's Counselors Academy, and Independent Practitioners Alliance. He is past chair of the Executive Committee for PRSA's National Independent Practitioners Alliance, past president of the Hawaii chapters of both PRSA and the International Association of Business Communicators. In 2008, he was named the PRSA Greg W. Perry Public Relations Professional of the Year. Nathan currently serves as board president of Kokora Mau, a hospice and palliative care organization. Aloha, Nathan.
Hi, Marty. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming on the show all the way from Hawaii. Well, you know, this is what's great about Zoom. I'm talking to you in Hawaii, and I'm sitting here in Vermont. So Nathan, I had an opportunity to look at your website, and I Googled you and all over, and you know, that's how I was able to get some of those accomplishments. But something that was missing from all of that is, how did you get started in public relations?
Well, you know, I think I always liked writing from a very young age. And I think the thing that sealed the deal for me was in the first grade, I was at Pleasant Elementary School in Massachusetts because my dad was in the Army.
Wow.
And I had a very bad experience with math. I could not understand, I could not grasp the greater than and less than concepts. It was just mind-boggling for me. And so I knew from then on, like, I don't really want to do math. And then I majored in journalism, as you mentioned. And there are three sequences. There were either the print or broadcast, and then the third option was the public relations sequence. And so that's the one I chose. And back then, you know, that was considered the dark side instead of the true journalism. But I never felt that way, and I'm glad I made that choice.
And I'm glad you did too. I totally agree with you. So Nathan, I want to take you back in time. I want you to think about pre-COVID. So that's about 4 or 5 months ago. And what do you consider some of the highlights of your pre-COVID-19 career? Pre-COVID-19.
Yeah, I think one of the highlights was really just opportunity to serve as the corporate communications manager for the petroleum company. Back then, this is before climate change, any of that. We were, you know, really well respected, but also at the same time, really vilified as a company. for various reasons. Probably the most recognizable one was the antitrust lawsuit against all oil companies in Hawaii, because there was a sense that there was collusion going on, high prices of gasoline across the entire nation, where we had one of the highest gasoline prices. And so I think from that experience, it really helped me to understand the importance of reputation management, and how people perceive things. No matter how much you try to explain, people don't always want to hear or listen. But that was a really valuable experience. I think the other valuable experience pre-COVID was just being involved with public relations society organizations like PRSA, because I think from there, from those organizations, you learn how to function at the top of your license, meaning like how to serve as a true counselor, not just be a tactician, but a strategist, and how to have a seat at the table and actually demand a seat at the table, to truly be effective as a public relations counselor.
Great.
And then I think the third thing was really just starting my own business. To me, that was the best decision I ever made 15 years ago now. I didn't have a business plan. All I knew was I wanted to serve clients in the way that I thought they should be served, and get the kind of service that they needed. So
Great.
I think those three things.
All right, great. All right, so now, so we're in the middle of COVID. I'm hoping that we're in the middle, I should say. What are you doing for your clients during COVID?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate in the sense that I have clients who want to do philanthropic endeavors. They want to support those that are, and there's so many needs in the community. I'm sure it's across the whole nation, but especially in Hawaii. I think the pandemic has created more of a divide, as many have observed, between the haves and the have-nots. And so working with organizations that can give generously to support, food distribution, meal distribution, prevent furloughs, and redeploy staff at nonprofits to serve in different ways, to outreach into the community. We have a very high immigrant population here in Hawaii, so all those things have been really exciting. And then also on the receiving end, helping nonprofits to position themselves to be on the receiving end of CARES funding, things like that have been really exciting for me to be on the forefront of that. And then I've also been working with the Department of Health here in Hawaii. So I have a front row seat of what's all of the challenges of communication, seeing all of that firsthand, and being involved initially with the Joint Information Center, and then ongoing challenges and issues with contact tracing, testing, all of those things that we're so familiar with now.
So let me ask you, in Hawaii, in terms of the media channels that are available to you, have you seen any changes there? Like for example, is the newspaper having difficult times? Is there a cut with reporters?
Yes, there was an announcement at the Honolulu Star Advertiser. That's the only daily in the state. They announced that they were going to be cutting staff. So a lot of the seasoned reporters are either not there or they're on furloughs. For example, we're hearing that they're on furlough for like 5 weeks at a time. So, you could be following up with them on a story and then poof, they're gone for 5 weeks, and then somebody else. So there's no real, I think they still have beats, whatever loose kind of beats there are. But it's really challenging. And then you have a lot of the news reporters going into public relations. They want the stability, they want the better hours because maybe they have young children. So lots of movement. It's always been like that, but I think more pronounced even now.
And what about in terms of the other communication channels, social media, et cetera? Have you even using Zoom? I mean, for me, this has been an incredible learning tool. But how are you helping organizations get the word out in terms of communicating?
Social media is really important. That's how people get the news. That's how they consume information today. We've been helping the Department of Health with the social media postings, trying to manage that, respond when we can. It's not always easy because social media is an engagement tool, not just posting and pushing out information. Encouraging other clients to do the same, because that's how, again, people get information.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
was not a big Zoom fan before, but now I love Zoom.
Yeah. As I said, I only regret that I didn't invest in the stock 9 years ago.
Yes.
Who, who would have known? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. All right. So I have to believe that there's going to be an end. We're going to emerge from this. I mean, yes, there's going to be flare-ups and here in Vermont, we've been very fortunate in terms of the numbers have been low. I know Hawaii was doing fantastic.
Yeah.
I think there's things going on, but
Yeah.
it's fantastic. But we're going to emerge from this. What do you think is going to be the role of PR when we emerge?
Yeah, I think the pandemic has taught us a lot of lessons as communications professionals. If we are partners, if we are consultants that help businesses flourish, I think we're going to have to help them pivot. Um, there's been a lot of changes. In order to be more resilient as organizations, there has to be a lot of change. And we see that happening now. The ones that are successful know how to pivot quickly and redefine their markets or redefine the way they distribute products and services. And so we can help them. We can play an important role in helping them navigate that. We know the tools. We know how people consume information. We know the channels that people use. We can be really, really valuable for organizations to help them with that. I also think that we need to, we'll have a lot of case studies of what went wrong and what we did well. We can see it every day happening where there's an intersection of leadership, culture, communications at the federal level, at the state level, at the county or city levels or local level. Ample examples that we can draw upon and use to advise clients. And I think the other thing we can look at is communications has always been results oriented. They want to see results. And I think that's going to be even more important. I think the pandemic has showed us that it's not just about communications and not just about fancy campaigns to get people to wear masks or follow physical distancing guidelines. It's the results. Did we, in fact, create behavioral change? And I know that some organizations in public health really focus on what the results are. Did we really impact people's lives? And did we move the needle in terms of creating a safer, healthier environment for people?
So at the same time that we're dealing with COVID, we're also dealing with a tremendous social issue in terms of racial injustice.
Yeah.
So we've got these two things happening concurrently, and frankly, I think that we're going to emerge from COVID and with all those things that you talked about. The issue of racial inequality, I think, is going to be one that we're gonna be able to counsel with. Is that something that you're seeing in Hawaii? Is
Well,
that issue there?
yeah, Hawaii, is a very unique kind of community. It's multicultural, multi-ethnic already. Um, so I don't think that we feel it as pronounced as on the continental U.S. But there are systemic issues that even I wasn't even aware of. I think we tend to take things for granted. But there are lessons learned that everybody can do their part, I think, to make sure those issues are addressed and kept at the forefront. Whichever organization you're working in, whether it's a nonprofit, for-profit, government agency, there's a role to play. and without co-opting the, for example, Black Lives Matter, we can be a part of that in some form, in some way.
Right. I agree. And I think that what I have found over, my time as a PR practitioner is we're really good at seeing the trends, and analyzing events to see what impact it has on our clients. And I think, looking to the future, I think that is our seat at the table. That's something that we're going to bring to organizations continuously, and I think they're very aware of that.
Yeah,
That
I
our
agree.
ability to do that.
I agree.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say now. Wait, you're going to be impressed here. Ready? I've been practicing this. Mahalu Nui.
Mahalo.
Mahalo Nui. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Nathan. Thank you, Nathan Hokama, Principal of Strategic Communication Solutions in Honolulu, Hawaii. Thanks for being on PR Benefits. I'd also like to thank Rich Mellinson at BCTV for helping me edit the show. Rachel Cohn, my daughter, who is a professor of art at Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana, for her technical assistance on the podcast. And also Twin Musicom for the music Hat the Jazz, which you hear at the beginning and end of the show. It kind of really sets the tone, and I really appreciate them letting me use the music. I'm Marty Cohn in Vermont. Stay healthy.